Something was wrong with the new kid. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. And every day he counted 6 crackers before he ate, no more, no less. His name was Caleb. He was 8. And the man who dropped him off said he'd served 18 years in the army. But when a fire drill triggered a strange reaction, and a dog tag hit the classroom floor with the wrong name on it, his teacher started writing everything down. If you've ever trusted your gut, even when no one else did, like, subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. It started like any ordinary morning for Ms. Lily Harrow, who had been teaching 3rd grade for over 10 years. She arrived early to set out worksheets, arrange the chairs in gentle arcs, and prepare her morning greeting for the class. She was known for her calm patience, especially with children who came from difficult backgrounds. Still, she had no clue what lay ahead that day. When the door opened and a small, pale-faced boy walked in, she greeted him with her usual warm smile, expecting a shy hello or a nod. But he remained utterly silent. He held himself stiffly as though uncertain if it was safe even to breathe. She learned his name from his registration form, Caleb, 8 years old. His father, or the man listed as his father, was Rick Barnes. The office staff had told her he was a transfer, part of a family that moved frequently due to military service. So many children who had parents in the armed forces dealt with transitions and emotional upheaval. Lily understood that. She had taught plenty of kids who carried the weight of too many goodbyes, too many new neighborhoods. And yet, there was something about Caleb that felt different. Something beyond the typical sadness of leaving friends behind. She remembered how, on his very first day, Caleb sat down at his desk and took out a small pack of crackers, each one carefully arranged in a Ziploc bag. That alone didn't feel alarming. Some children had idiosyncrasies about food. But when lunch break came and Caleb still had the exact same food, 6 crackers, no sandwich, nothing else, Lily's concern flickered. She walked by his desk to gently suggest he try a hot meal from the cafeteria, but he looked away, shoulders tense. The next day it repeated, 6 crackers meticulously counted before he ate each one. No fruit, no juice, no variety. It might have been nothing, but to Lily, these little signs pointed to deeper troubles. Outside, the sun was warm and the air smelled of freshly mowed grass. At recess, children ran in swirling arcs, giggling as they played tag or hopped from one patch of sidewalk chalk to another. Caleb, however, did not run. He stood at the edge of the playground, arms crossed over his chest, observing everything as though from behind a thick pane of glass. Lily walked up to him, introduced herself more personally. "I'm Miss Harrow, and I really want you to feel at home in our class." Caleb just shrugged, the faintest tremor in his expression suggesting he wanted to say something but didn't know how. She noticed how his too large hoodie was zipped all the way up, even though it was easily 74 degrees outside. His face shone with a light sheen of sweat, but he kept that hoodie on as though it were armor. The next day, Lily tried engaging him in a more creative activity. She asked the class to draw something that made them feel safe. A favorite place, a memory, perhaps a comforting object. Many children eagerly sketched out pictures of fluffy pets, cozy bedrooms, or imaginary castles. Caleb, however, drew a box. 4 walls, no windows. Inside it, a tiny stick figure crouched with its hands over its ears. He labeled it storage space. His classmates noticed the oddity of that drawing. Some whispered or giggled. Caleb didn't react at all. He simply closed his notebook, stuffed it into his backpack, and kept his eyes on the floor. Soon enough, a routine fire drill jolted everyone out of class. The alarm blared, echoing down corridors, and children lined up, chattering nervously as they filed out onto the field. But Caleb dropped to the ground under his desk, pressing his palms over his ears. Lily knelt beside him, telling him gently that they needed to head outside for safety. As he crawled out, she heard him whisper under his breath, "Don't run. They see you when you run." Her heart pounded. It was such a strange thing to say, ominous in a way that sent a shiver up her spine. That evening, Lily's mind swarmed with half-formed worries. She had taught children in foster care, children who had come from chaotic homes or refugee backgrounds. Usually she could get them to open up by the end of the first week at least a little. But Caleb didn't even glance at her unless he had to. Whenever Rick Barnes picked him up, the man gave a polite nod, though Lily noticed the lines around his eyes were unnaturally stiff. He wore a military-style jacket, complete with dog tags clinking softly against his chest. She wondered if it was normal for him to remain so guarded or if he genuinely was a father who simply struggled to connect with his son. The only direct conversation she had with him was on Caleb's first day, when he stated that they moved around a lot due to his 18 years in the army. He had been polite but distant. A few days later, Lily got her first real clue. It was simple happenstance. Near the end of class, Caleb took off his hoodie, and another student picked it up off the floor. As the child lifted it, a small metallic object fell to the ground with a clear, sharp clink. The student turned it over curiously, then handed it to Lily. It was a worn set of dog tags, older than the gleaming ones Rick Barnes always wore. Lily read the stamped name, Staff SGT, Will Parker. That was a different name altogether. When she looked at Caleb, his eyes flicked up to meet hers. For an instant she thought she saw fear. But he did not snatch the tags away or say a single word. He just swallowed, shoulders trembling ever so slightly, and held her gaze for 3 difficult heartbeats before looking away. That evening Lily couldn't sleep. She found herself awake in the small hours of the morning, staring at a piece of paper where she had jotted down, Will Parker, and Caleb's father equals Rick Barnes. She remembered how Caleb constantly flinched at sudden noises, counted his crackers, stayed silent. Was it just the strain of too many relocations and too little stability? Or was there something else, something more sinister? By sunrise, she resolved to speak with the school counselor and file a formal report, even if it meant going out on a limb. She had to trust her instincts. The school counselor, Mrs. Fulton, agreed to bring in Child Protective Services for a home check. Within 48 hours, the caseworker visited Rick Barnes and Caleb. When Lily checked in to see how it went, the caseworker told her the home was tidy, the fridge stocked, and the father cooperative. Caleb seemed polite, answered all questions with a simple, "Yes, ma'am," or "No, sir." There was no sign of abuse or neglect. In the end, the case was closed. Lily tried to hide her frustration when Mrs. Fulton told her the news, but inside, a helpless knot tightened in her chest. The next day, right before independent reading time, Caleb approached Lily's desk for the very first time. She looked up from a pile of math worksheets, startled to see him standing there. He didn't fidget, but she sensed an urgency in the way his knuckles gripped the edge of the desk. His voice came out low and barely audible. Can I sit by the window today?" Lily offered a soft smile, about to say he could sit wherever he liked. Before she got a single word out, Caleb added, "I just want to see if my real dad is coming." Her pulse stilled. She gently asked, "Your real dad? Honey, what do you mean?" He seemed to weigh the risk of confiding in her. Then he whispered, "That man, he's not my dad. He took my dad's jacket. And his name. But it's not his. I tried to tell people, but nobody listens. My dad's gone." Tears pooled in his eyes, but he fought them back. "He won't let me talk about it. He says I have to be quiet or bad things happen." Lily could barely find her voice. "Caleb, you're safe here," she managed. "I promise I'll do everything I can to help." He nodded, though he appeared unconvinced. That evening, Lily paced around her small living room, phone in hand. She needed a second opinion from someone who dealt with missing persons. As soon as she gathered enough courage, she called her brother, Detective Joel Harrow, who worked in the city's missing persons division. She recounted all of it, the dog tags, the weird behaviors, the new revelations from Caleb himself. Joel went silent for a good few seconds. "Lily," he said slowly, "I know that name. Will Parker. That was a suspicious home invasion case about 4 months ago. The father was missing, the house was a mess, and the kid was declared missing too. The father's service record indicated he was a widower raising his child on his own. Then, after the incident, both father and son disappeared. Authorities never confirmed if the father was dead or if he fled. The trail went cold." Lily's heart thumped so loudly she imagined it echoing through the phone. "Could that be Caleb?" she asked. Joel asked her to send a recent photo. She did, and moments later he confirmed, "Lily, that's Parker's kid. Right down to the hair color, the date of birth. I'm looking at the old pictures from the file. It's him." Over the next 2 days, Lily walked around school with a constant sense of worry. She suspected Rick Barnes was more than an imposter. He might be actively hiding from law enforcement. Meanwhile, Joel discovered that someone using Will Parker's credentials had recently accessed a VA database, trying to retrieve files on the Parker investigation. That unauthorized access triggered a system alert. "We traced the IP," Joel told Lily. "It's not from Barnes. It's from Will Parker himself. He's still alive." Lily felt equal parts relief and dread. If Will Parker was alive, that meant he was out there searching for his son. But what if that put Caleb in more danger? If Rick Barnes realized people were closing in on him, he might vanish again, dragging Caleb along or doing something worse. Lily tried to keep calm, forcing herself to go about her normal teacher duties while inside. Her nerves were frayed to a raw edge. Finally, one morning, Joel called to say they had a break. They tracked Barnes's vehicle to a seedy motel off Route 60. They believed Caleb was with him. "We're going in tonight," Joel said. "State Patrol is involved, but we're keeping it low profile. No sirens. No big show. We want to make sure we can get the kid out safely." Lily felt torn between wanting to rush there herself and knowing she would only complicate things. She stayed home, phone in hand, waiting for any update. As hours crawled by, her imagination spun wild scenarios of heartbreak and violence. Then, close to midnight, her phone buzzed. She answered on the first ring, hearing Joel's breathless voice. "We got him," Joel said, voice trembling with a mix of adrenaline and relief. "But Lily, you won't believe what happened. Will Parker showed up at the motel too. He must have been tracking Barnes on his own. He got there before we did." When Joel described the scene, Lily could almost picture it. An empty parking lot beneath flickering neon lights. Barnes stepping out of his SUV, leading Caleb by the shoulder, probably planning to change motels or skip out entirely. A second car pulling up at the other end of the lot, a beaten-up sedan. The door opening and a man stepping out. Will Parker, battered by months of searching, face drawn, gaze desperate. He called his son's name, Caleb. The boy twisted around, saw him, and for the first time in who knew how long, Caleb recognized the real father he thought he had lost forever. Joel explained how Caleb tore himself from Barnes's grip and sprinted across the lot, flinging himself into his father's arms. Barnes tried to make a break for it, but Joel was there with 2 other detectives, and they pinned him to the ground. The few bystanders who happened to be outside watched in shock as father and son clung to each other. Will whispered, voice raw with emotion, "I didn't stop. I never stopped looking." Only then did the fear in Caleb's eyes give way to relief. A week later, Lily was at her desk, sorting through spelling tests, trying to banish the memory of how close the boy came to disappearing for good. The final bell rang. Students scurried for the door, heading to the buses or pickup lines. Caleb hung back. He walked up to Lily, no hoodie on this time, shoulders relaxed in a way she had never seen. Her heart felt a little lighter just looking at him. From his backpack, he carefully pulled out a folded military jacket, the same one Rick Barnes had worn. He laid it on her desk, the weight of it a silent testament to everything that had happened. "I don't need it anymore," he said, voice hushed but firm. He paused as though thinking of the right words. "The real one's back." She nodded, emotions welling in her throat. And when the recess bell sounded, an extended period for an after-school play program, Caleb raced outdoors, joining the other children. He laughed as he dashed across the grass, unbound and free, a child at last. If you found this story compelling, please remember to like and subscribe for more. Thanks so much for watching.